Paul he has some serious soul searching to do, and that's really where my character's going to exist for a lot of this season. I go back up in this fall, and we get to work on season 4. We're very excited. The writer's room's been up for a while. They're making decisions on what happened. And Jason Street has a really cool head, and he's like kind of explaining what I'm seeing. This is, and he starts yelling. He's like, curse! I tested for the Flash, and then I screen tested for Captain America, and I was like, I was in that.
You were in the Final Four.
I was, yeah, same amount per episode that we shot to make Friday Night Lights or Hart of Dixie is basically what we make Ginny and Georgia for. Our first season, we set the record for most consecutive days at #1 for Netflix television.
Can we go back to the beginning?
Yeah.
Let's talk Prom Night.
Okay.
One of my favorite movies because it came out right when I was graduating high school, and you landed the lead pretty early into your acting career alongside Brittany Snow.
Deep cut, man. Prom Night. Yeah. It was my first hiatus off Friday Night Lights. And back then, which is way different than it is now, we would work for 9 or 10 months on a show. You do 22 episodes, and then you have 3 months to try and book as much movie work as you can.
Oh, so you're allowed to jump to movies.
If they'll let you. I mean, if movies will let you, right? Because back then it was like you're a television actor or you're a film actor. Stay in your lane. Like that was very much the landscape of Hollywood. And dude, I read Prom Night, and the director called me and he was like, dude, I want to work like you guys work on Friday Night Lights. And I was so green. All I knew was how we worked on Friday Night Lights, which was like improving a ton, off script, no rehearsals, no marks. And I didn't know like how to shoot traditional film and television. So I loved his pitch, and I liked the role of Bobby, although I die off, spoiler alert, everyone, die off camera, which is like, you at least want the cool death on camera. But that whole casting process was crazy, man.
How so?
It was Screen Gems, and they had a formula. And I mean, you look at like certain streamers nowadays, they live by their own formulas as well, right? And Screen Gems' formula was find young, in their opinion, hot actors and put as many of them into a movie as they could, make it for under 20 million and make 100 million plus on the back end. That was like their whole like thing. So when I sat down with like the head of Screen Gems, he was like, are you hot enough? I don't know if you're hot enough. This is like a little legit conversation. He was like, I mean, we have Collins Penny. He's fucking hot. Are you hot enough? And he's like, look at it. He's like, and we do the read finally, and then I get to read with Britt, and her and I like hit it off right away. I love Britt. She's awesome, man. She's having quite the time this year too. With
Hunting
a couple
Wives.
of big show. I know, man.
So good.
Saw her on The Night Agent earlier this year too. Like, so happy for her. But it was like this young cast, and he was trying to figure out if I fit. And it was like the entire audition wasn't necessarily, I mean, I was saying words. I was, reading a scene, but he was just intently staring at me, just trying to figure out if I was good looking enough to fit in the thing. Luckily, I guess he deemed that I was, but it was, that hiatus was crazy because I did that and I did Speed Racer back to back, which was such a different film. So Prom Night was, we got off the page a lot. We shot a lot of our scenes because you want that high school camaraderie feel. So we spent like every night when we'd wrap, we'd go out together.
To hang out and build the bond? Wow.
So like Kellen and Kelly and Jess and Britt and Dana and me and Collins, like we would all go out and just like party in LA.
So when you guys are driving on the limo and everyone's like hanging out, is that all improv kind of thing?
That's all off script. Yeah, that was all just like, and we had found like a number of like inside jokes and stuff that we could like really bring to the the feel of like this senior year prom, like whatever. And our director was great in that regard, like just really wanting to build that chemistry and camaraderie and stuff. And I had never really experienced that. Like it happened organically in Friday Night Lights because we were just in the trenches. We're in Austin, Texas. We're by ourselves. We're not a part of the LA machine. But Prom Night shot here in Los Angeles. And so it could have been really easy for all of us to just be like, I've got so much other stuff going on. We're wrapped. I'll see you guys tomorrow. But we were all young and kind of green, and we needed that kind of molding. So he was really encouraging us to really get out and spend time together. I mean, we did like sleepovers. Like it was fun, man. And we had a great time. And
how long does a horror movie like that take to film?
Let's see. Friday Night Lights shot quicker than any other TV show because we would go home at lunch some days, like because of the way we shot.
Wow.
And so we went from shooting 8 days per episode on Friday Night Lights down to season 3 to like 5.5 days. Like every 6th day we were shooting 2 episodes at once because we just had our process. It was crazy.
So it wasn't even a budget thing. You guys were just that in sync. Peter Burg was like, let's do this.
It was just no other way for us to capture what we were capturing the way we needed to. And we were shooting on film. So we just didn't we didn't want to waste it. Like, let's have 3 cameras up at all times. Let's capture everything, 3 different levels all at once. So we got a guy doing a wide. We got a guy like underneath him, like trying to catch like mids. And then we got a guy hiding under a desk in the classroom, just getting screaming tights. You can only see one of your eyes because he can't get the angle right. But we don't care. We love it and we keep it. So I had 4 months hiatus, that first hiatus. It took about 2 months to shoot Prom Night. And then I went over to Berlin and I was there for about 7 weeks of the process of Speed Racer. They were there much longer, but my role was a shorter part of the film, so I was in and out in about 7.
That timing worked out perfect for you.
It did, yeah. Landed back stateside, and like the next week was back in on Friday Night Lights.
Wow.
Yeah, but Britt, incredible lead. To be that young and leading a movie like that. But the other cool thing is, completely forgot about this. We're talking, Idris Elba is in the movie.
Who is he? The teacher?
He plays the sheriff, who's like hunting down Jonathan.
Yes.
Jonathan Sheck is and we would go see Idris DJ every weekend.
Oh, he was DJing back then.
He was, that was almost his like
main thing.
Acting was like a afterthought for him at the time. He had like his whole DJ persona and shit. And like we would like go out and see him spin and like we would go and hang. And so the guy, like the cop that's trying to solve the case is like, and I knew him from like, all these other like rough and tumble like Guy Ritchie style films and everything like that. So he was just the coolest fucking guy in the world to me. Right. And I mean, then in person he was even cooler, which was like one of those things like, never meet your heroes or whatever. Meet Idris. He's freaking awesome, man. He was so cool. And people don't even know that like Idris Elba was in Prom Night. And Jonathan Sheck was the baddie. And, That Thing You Do was a big movie for me, like growing up. So I was kind of like, it was cool because I was starstruck in a bunch of different ways. But in the midst of it all is Britt leading the entire film.
Was she big then? Like
at a young age? Yeah.
There was a lot of buzz around her?
Yeah, there was a lot of buzz around Britt. But when you're that young and you have that much buzz around you and then you're leading a film for a studio that has a formula and like this film can't fail the formula, like I can only imagine the pressure. So it's easy for me to go in and be like, I'm just the boyfriend hanging out on the side. What's up? She just led the heck out of it, and it was a cool experience. I haven't gotten to talk about Prom Night in forever, so thanks for bringing it up.
I was such a fan of it. It came out exactly when I was at prom.
Really?
I was like, I don't want this to be like my prom, but it was really inspirational. Like, oh, this is what it could be like. And you guys get the hotel room keys. You're like, let's go.
Yep.
Really fun.
Dude, I went to prom in Orlando, Florida. I'm from Nebraska originally, but I went to high school and college in Florida, and we stayed at Old Key West Resort on Disneyland property.
Wow.
Because our prom was at a hotel on Disney World property, I should say, down in Florida. So yeah, that whole experience was the same for us too. It's like a bunch of kids from Florida get to spend the night at one Disney World resort. We tore that place apart, man.
When that movie comes out and it's a box office hit, does that elevate your stardom power where people are trying to come after you?
It was really interesting because it kind of did. It showed people that I could be a part of a film that worked, but I wasn't leading it. But then the next summer, Speed Racer dropped, and it bombed. It was divisive critically, and it bombed financially. It came out the week after Iron Man, the week before Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull.
Oh, so it was like
it was like sandwiched in between these two massive, like one had massive anticipation, the other one nobody knew was going to jumpstart a 20-year MCU journey that we've been on. And so we kind of got swallowed up. And the critics, it was kind of crazy. Like, and you could kind of tell though, the people who really hated it also just kind of didn't jive with the Wachowskis, They do things their own way. And I think they're brilliant, man. But they, they didn't want to do press tours the way that everybody else would. They kind of wanted to do it their way. And I think people got a little offended by it. I don't know. And so you can see like the comments about the Wachowskis personally in these reviews where we'd get like 2 stars, and then we'd get a 5-star review. So it was like, it was crazy. Houston loved us. Dallas hated us. It was like this really divisive thing. But this many years later, like 20 years later, like Speed Racers got a cult following. People celebrate the movie now. People get it. They understand it. You know, I always say if it would have come out like post Avatar, maybe the world would have been more ready for a movie that was that visually stimulating and immersive and everything. But that then bombed, and then that started a string of like movies that I was in that just like didn't hit. So it was Prom Night was maybe my only actual like financial like hit.
Right.
Like Band Slam didn't land well.
What's up, guys? Real quick, this episode is sponsored by Liquid IV. As summer days are getting hotter, you gotta stay hydrated, and that's where I use Liquid IV. Whether I'm going to the beach or hitting a music festival, I always make sure to carry a pack of it with me. There's also an incredible flavor I want to tell you about, the Orange Vanilla Dream Hydration Multiplier from Liquid IV. It's a nostalgic vanilla flavor with notes of candied orange that can help you stay more hydrated than just water alone. So visit liquidiv.com and use code LIGHTWEIGHT at checkout for 20% off your first order. Liquid IV is scientifically formulated to help replenish electrolytes and fluids lost from sweat and exercise. It has 3 times electrolytes of the leading sports drink, plus 8 vitamins and nutrients, all in a single stick. It's got 100% of the daily 4 essential B vitamins, B3, 5, 6, and 12. Plus, it's an excellent source of vitamin C. So savor the last bits of summer with Liquid IV. Tear, pour, live more. Go to liquidiv.com and get 20% off your first order with code LIGHTWEIGHT at checkout. That's 20% off your first order with code LIGHTWEIGHT at checkout. Stay hydrated, friends. When you're on these sets, is there, I mean, is everything pretty much like, oh, this is going to do well, or does nobody know how it's going to go?
So much is out of our hands. And I think when you're that young in the business, not even just personally, that young in the business like I was, you really have no clue. So your like hopefulness is winning, right? You're like, oh yeah, no, this is a great movie and this is going to be huge. This is going to be awesome. And so, you know, when I booked Speed Racer, I was like, this is going to be the biggest movie ever. And we really thought it was going to be a hit, you know. And then it didn't do well. But the real wake-up call was I shot a pilot called Masterwork. Awesome project. It was the guys that did Prison Break.
Oh, wow.
We had a fantastic director who went on to direct a bunch of Homeland. Like, the team in place was, you know, top notch. The guys that did Prison Break, it was for Fox. So they had a great partnership. Prison Break was a huge hit for them. And it was about like international art thieves, and the cast that we had, Tom Ellis, who became Lucifer, Natalie Dormer, who you would know from Game of Thrones or any number of other projects, Matt Passmore, who led 3 other shows past that, one called The Glades that went for like 6 years. Like, I mean, the cast, Maren Dungy, like it was like this crazy, really good cast. We shot it in Prague and Croatia. It was awesome.
What a dream.
And we literally were told by Fox executives and our, like, you know, Paul Scheuring and everybody that was involved, like, this is going to be on Monday nights with 24 when they relaunched 24. Like, we would have to shit in a bag, light it on fire, and throw it on the president's doorstep for us not to get picked up. May comes around, which is when Upfronts happens, and you find out if your show got picked up or not. So we shot the pilot in, you know, February, March. May comes around. We don't get picked up. I was like, who shit in the bag and threw it on the porch? Like, what happened, man? Like, holy, what happened? They picked up a show called Human Target. It lasted like half season, and we never went. And that show just, no one ever saw it. So that was like the real wake-up call. Because it's one thing to shoot a movie, have the movie come out, and it not do well financially or whatever. It's another thing completely to spend 3 months and then spend another couple of months spend 3 months making something, spend a couple of months anticipating getting the pickup to be able to go up and tell the rest of the story, and then have it just disappear.
No one sees it.
No one has ever seen it. I think it is on YouTube now, though.
The pilot?
So I think you can watch Masterwork, the pilot. And of course, it's like a rough edit. It's like it never got the sheen that it should, because things don't get finalized unless you actually get sent to series. So that was like the real wake-up call, is like, things in this industry, you can't hope. You know, you got to kind of really go, okay, this was so much fun. I'm going to experience, you know, I'm going to experience this thing. I'm going to be present. I'm going to be grateful for this moment, for this learning experience. And then once you're done filming it, just kind of go, all right, what's next?
Right.
You know? And just, if people love it, they love it. If they don't, they don't. And I had a string of just like bomb, 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 bomb. So now I'm a television actor. Like, and I don't know if I'll ever do film again. But Prom Night and Speed Racer really did launch me into like the world of like, I was kind of on like short lists of hype, and I was going in for big projects. I met George Miller. They were doing a Justice League. He was going to direct it prior to the first writer strike that we had. Or not first, but ever, but the one that we had in 2007. It ended up ultimately killing that movie, and I tested for it. I tested for The Flash, and then I screen tested for Captain America, and I was like, I was in that.
You were in the Final Four.
Yeah. I mean, it's so crazy with all this stuff because it's just as press was reporting it, but they know more than I do, actually. So when it comes out on whatever website that, the Final Four for Captain America are the following.
Like, me?
Yeah. It's like, and then Channing. I mean, then, it was like Channing Tatum's name was always out there, even though he never screen tested. It was like, so there was like 3 guys I knew tested, me and Mike Vogel and Wilson Bethel. And then it was like, you'd see the list kind of thin. It'd be like, oh, John Krasinski's out. I'm like, okay, where's my name? I'm not out yet. They're like, this guy's out. Okay, the final 3 is these 3. And then Chris Evans come out of nowhere and like takes it, and he's perfect for it. They made the right call, but it's just like, yeah, Final 4 for Captain America. Like, I put the suit on. I had stunt training.
Is it tailored for you?
I shot scenes on a, blown up airplane in a bombed out bar.
For Captain America?
For Captain America.
Wow, they put you through all that testing to see. Wow.
Put the shield on your back. They teach you stunt fighting. They teach you a whole thing to put you through it, see what your physical prowess is. They sit you down at a table at a bar for the Bucky scene where, it's just Captain America and Bucky after they've seen the horrors of war. There's the flirting scene with Peggy Carter on the plane before he throws himself out of it. That was the other scene. And yeah, I performed those scenes on stages they built while they were shooting Thor. So we went to the studios where they were shooting Thor. So I walked in and I saw like all these, like the throne room of Asgard, and I saw all these really cool sets. And yeah, man, it was an experience. They would take you, put you in a golf cart with like blackout shades, and you would sit in this little cart, and they would drive you around the lot so that nobody, no paparazzi that had like a mile-long lens could even see who you were. And they'd go portal to portal. Like, they'd back you up in the golf cart and open up the back hatch, and you'd walk through the door into the soundstage without anyone ever seeing you. And then you get back in the golf cart, and they take you back to whatever center you needed to meet the stunt guy and everything. Yeah. One of my biggest regrets to this day is I did not take a picture of myself in the suit.
But the footage exists.
Somewhere, Wilson Bethel did take a picture of himself, and we ended up working on Hart of Dixie together. And I'm so envious of them. Like, man. But I did. I put on I looked pretty dope. I looked dope in the suit. But that was a process that was really, really cool because I found out I could really fight for myself. I initially went in for Captain America, and they were like, he's just not right for this role. I had long, floppy blonde hair. I had just come off a movie where I had like, I looked a little bit like a boy band, and they were, member, and they were like, he just doesn't fit the physique. He doesn't fit the thing. And I was like, okay. And it was the casting, kept going. So I went and got my hair cut. I hit the weights hard for like almost a month, and they were still searching. And I wrote an email, a letter basically. And I was like, I think you're wrong. I think I'm right for this. I know I'm right for this, actually. And so casting let me come back in, and they were like, okay, maybe we were wrong. And they send the tape to Joe Johnston, who was the director, and he was like, I want him to come to the studio tomorrow. And I went to the studio and met him in his office as he was doing rewrites. And he was like, let's just see it, kid. And I did the scene there, and he was like, okay, we'll see you back here in 2 days. And I was like, whoa.
Do they give you a mock script so you can prepare this?
No, they gave us actual scenes. For some films, like when I went in for Gambit for the Wolverine franchise, they called him the Yellow Man, the whole, in all the scripts, code name, this whole thing. But Cap, I think we all knew this was Captain America. I can't remember what they called him. I don't think they called him Steve, but they called him something. And I can't remember exactly what they called him. But I knew, as a comic book fan, I knew this was Cap. So I prepared him as Cap. And sometimes you can, for these superhero things, you can kind of like lean on the casting director and be like, come on, really? Who is it? who are we going for here? I just want to know so that I can like really dial in and do my research and focus up and everything. Sometimes they'll give you the little nuggets, you know.
And who are you basing it off of? Like your interpretation of what he would be in the comics?
Yeah, that was all I had to go off of. And that's the cool thing. I mean, I mispronounce all these Marvel characters' names because I grew up reading the books. So Thanos, he was always Thanos to me. I called him Thanos. I say all these words wrong. So I do a lot of voiceover in the Marvel world now, and I say so many names wrong in my head. But that's just because I've read these books for so many years, and I've developed who they are, how they act, what they say through like my favorite storylines that have been written for the characters. You know, they change over time because the writers change, but my interpretation of the prime, you know, version of this character is, you know, I think just like any comic book fan is really pure for me.
Do you collect comic books?
Yeah.
What's your most expensive one?
I have, my wife got me a gift, 5 years ago. I think it was our 5-year like dating anniversary. She got me a copy of the first solo cover for Iceman, who's my all-time favorite superhero of Xmen, and it's basically Magneto versus Iceman on the cover, and it's I think X-Men 7 or 8, and it's signed by Stan Lee.
Wow.
And it's graded.
What's the rating?
It's an 8.9, but I mean, for it to be even close to a 9 to be this many years later, I mean, you're talking 50-something plus year old comic, and it's signed by Stan Lee, so which can actually bring the cost down a little bit, but for me, like, that's probably my most expensive one.
Did you get it signed by him personally?
No, it was signed by him before, but a couple years later, I was on a panel with him at Comic-Con for doing video game voiceover. So it was like, that's how I got to meet Stan. I never got into the films, but I got into Marvel voiceover stuff, and I got to meet Stan Lee.
Did you get a photo with that?
I did.
Good.
I did get a photo with Stan, and but he wouldn't take it with just me. He made Kelsey get in the picture. He was like, "We're not attractive enough. Get her in here." So, very Stan Lee moment. It was awesome.
When you got Cyclops, was that a crazy role for you?
I had been, so I'm a hustler, and in this business, you can wait for your agents to try and do stuff for you, or you can just go hustle on your own and try and do the things you want to do.
And you made that happen?
And I wanted to do video games really, really badly. And I wanted to do voiceover really, really badly. And at the time, and not to say anything about my agency, they are incredible. But at the time, they were more just like film, television, and literary. They weren't really focused on voice stuff, you know, unless it was like a big project from a big studio or like a big film.
What's literary?
Writers and showrunners and directors. So they had like a lot of and theater. Gersh is huge in New York. They're a fantastic theater agency as well. But that was just a realm they weren't completely in. And I didn't want another agent because you can have a specific voiceover agent or any of these things. So I was like, screw it. I just started going to E3, which is like a big video game convention that doesn't exist anymore. And I just went around to all the different game companies and I played their games, and some of them are fans of Friday Night Lights, and they'd be like, "Hey, I'm a fan of your work." And I'd be like, "I'm a fan of your work. We should work together. We should make these two things happen." And then this guy, Justin Farron, gave me my first shot on a video game. It was called Xmen Destiny. And then out of nowhere, got a call to audition for Cyclops in a different project. And my
Did
buddy,
they see you in that first X-Men one?
They knew I was doing voiceover. And they knew they wanted younger kind of actors to fill the roles of some of the X-Men and of Wolverine especially. So I think it ended up, Milo Ventimiglia ended up being Wolverine at the time. Adrian Pasdar, who was on Heroes, ended up being Iron Man. And that, I think, kind of came from one of the guys that was doing the X-Men anime series, had written on Heroes. And so he was in that NBC sphere. And then he heard that I was doing stuff, and he was like, "I want to hear him. Maybe he would be good for Cyclops, like a younger, like, you know, Cyclops." And put myself on tape, and Harrison ended up being like, "Yeah, he's our guy." And it was a huge deal for me. And you don't understand until you walk into these booths how hard and intimidating the whole process is.
For a video game script.
For animated or video game. Because the animated side of it, I was hearing voices that I had heard for years in so many other projects. And I was also just in the booth by myself. And you're just saying words to no one, hoping that contextually they fit with other people's performances. And of course you come back and do pickups and stuff, but I didn't have anybody that I was across from. And I'm not trained for this. Like I went to college and I was an invited walk-on at the University of Central Florida to play football. I was a structural engineering major for like a year and a half before like starting to work at theme parks. That was how I like cut my teeth in entertainment. And I'm just not classically trained. So when I'm in the booth, I'm trying to figure it out. But you've got a director on the other side of the glass who is how many years of experience doing this. And we had a pro, and she was incredible, but she's constantly asking you to add a little something. Okay, that was good, but let's try it this time with a little bit more surprise, like a little bit more walla, which is walla is like the and I'm like, okay. And then I would do it and I would hope that I'd gave surprise, and she's like, that was more like that was like a jump scare, like I need just like subtle surprise. And then it's like it's really dialing in on like emotion. And I felt after my first day, I felt like I was immediately getting fired. I was like, because they keep on asking you to dial it in, and you think that you're missing it every time. But really what they're doing is they know all the other performances, and they're just trying to make sure that it matches contextually. But it can really mess with your mind because you think you're just not doing it right. You know what I mean? So, but Cyclops to play him was, for me, yeah, that was like my first big like superhero role. And
what'd you do for Madden?
Madden was... this is another thing I can't believe that I was able to do. Madden did a story mode, and I had worked with a video game company called Telltale.
This is Madden 2018.
This is Madden 2018 and 2019.
Okay.
They wanted to do a story. They wanted to do a story mode where the player has a lot of power, and they choose the story and how it evolves. And they thought it would fit really cool in Madden because you take a kid from college and then down the road of like the NFL auditions, basically, for anybody out there who doesn't watch the NFL. There's something called the NFL Combine where you go, you perform, you put all your speed, your power, all these things on tape for everyone to see, all your measurables, and then the teams decide, if they're going to take you or not in the draft. And they wanted to do something along those lines where they gave the players of the game the ability to build something, take this character all the way through a storyline, making all the decisions along the way that affect them positively or negatively, and then see where they get drafted, and then put them into the actual game. So some ownership for the players of Madden who wanted to do it. They knew it was called Long Shot, but they knew they wanted to shoot it like Friday Night Lights. And so I got a phone call. I had worked with a company called Telltale Games, which was, I had done a couple of games with them, like Guardians of the Galaxy and a couple of other games where we had these branching storylines. It's like Choose Your Own Adventure, but in a video game. So in Guardians of the Galaxy, depending on how you treat a certain character, it affects your relationship with Rocket Raccoon. Or, if you decide that, you want to take over piloting the ship, he gets really pissed off at you. And later in the game, when you really need his help, like he doesn't supply it because of this decision you made, chapters ago. And Madden wanted the same thing. So the Madden story of Long Shot was about two characters, Devin Wade and Colt Cruz. I played Colt Cruz. J.R. Lemon played Devin Wade. And basically, there are two kids who went to the University of Texas. While they're there, they only have one dad between them. Colt's dad died very young. And Devin's dad is kind of like the father figure for both characters. And on the way home from a game one night, and it was Mahershala Ali, by the way, was playing Devin's dad. Mahershala Ali comes to the game. On the way home, there's a storm. He gets in a car wreck and he dies. And the lead character blames himself, quits playing football, joins the military, takes off. And years later, the NFL wants to do a reality show called Long Shot, where they take somebody who never had their chance to get drafted and try and build them up through this reality television show, take them to the combine, and then see if they can get drafted. So everything that you do in the game how you treat people, how much time you spend on social media, how much, how you treat your best friend, who you choose to throw to on the field, what plays you choose to call, if you listen to your coaches or not. It's all taken into account. And then there's a series of like best things. Like the best possible outcome is you and Colt get drafted in the first round to the same team. That's like your goal. Get you and your best friend on the same team. Or, you get drafted by your favorite team and Colt goes undrafted. Like there's all these different things that can happen. So it was a really cool process. We shot it. It was all motion capture.
And you're wearing the suit, you're playing him.
Oh yeah, wearing the suit. And like the actors that I got to work with on that were crazy, but I'm also working with Hall of Fame football players. So I worked with Dan Marino and Mahershala Ali in the same day, a Hall of Famer and an Oscar winner on a video game for Madden. And their whole slogan is, "It's in the game." And I'm like, if it's in the game, it's in the game. And I'm in the game, even though I never played in the NFL. I'm like one of the few people in the world who was in Madden having never played in the NFL. So it was just a really, really cool experience. And I think I got the call because of Friday Night Lights and because of my prior experience, like building these really complex, because you're having to play multiple storylines. Like we would shoot a scene between me and Devin, and depending where we are in our relationship, we're super chill with each other. We're super angry with each other. He's heartbroken and I'm trying to console him. And we've got to shoot the same scene in those 3 different fashions. And then, depending on how that works, we get in a fist fight, or I walk away silently, or we drive off together. And so we've got to shoot all 3 of those. And then from those situations, you go into the next scene, you've got it. So by the end of it, it's this like crazy beautiful mind math problem if you're like, where am I at in this story?
So is filming a storyline like that for a video game very time consuming because you're doing all these possible outcomes?
Yeah, we shot that thing for months and months and months.
What? And you knew that going into it? Like, this is a huge project?
Yeah.
Like time-wise, I mean?
Yeah, I mean, when it came down to it, like, we shot little pieces of it, little pieces of it, little pieces of it. And then when it came times to get like the real crux of the story, we shot for like 5 or 6 weeks or something on this like volume, on this really cool soundstage. And motion capture is weird because you've got to be able to find the child in you again, because you walk onto this blank canvas. It's just white. It's just a white box. That's this stage. They call it the volume because they have, hundreds of cameras that go up each of the corners of the room and the seams of the room, and they're all shooting down onto this space where when you stand in it with this suit and with all these balls on, it tracks your computerized version of you. And all your movements you can see on a screen live as you're moving. But the house isn't there. The car's not there. The grass isn't there. There's nothing there. It's just white. So you really have to be able to imagine again. You really have to be able to capture that part of your, when you would play as a kid, you'd be like, oh no, this is a castle door. And oh, there's a dragon on the other side of it. And like, you have to be able to do that.
So crazy.
When you're on Friday Night Lights, I'm in the wheelchair and I'm like at the football field and I'm, watching them run drills in front of me. Like I don't have to, there's no imagination that I have to do on my, behalf, except for pretend that I'm this character who it's easier to inhabit because you have all this support around you. But the motion capture stuff is crazy because you don't have any of it. You have like a little wooden buildup of what could be a truck, and then you sit in it, and then, okay, here we go. You're by the side of a Texas road. The gravestone of your best friend's dad is right there. You haven't seen it in 6 months. You're sick of him, like having all this guilt over his dad dying. So you get in a big fight. You get out of the truck. You throw, you have fisticuffs. You kick the dirt at the truck as he gets in and drives away and leaves you on the side of the road stranded. And it's like, you have to just pretend all this stuff. You have to pretend you can see it and the tree and the whole thing. It's just really, really cool. It was one of my favorite experiences in my entire career.
Are they capturing your face too?
Yeah, they capture your face too.
So do you have that camera on your face?
That is the worst part of doing motion capture is the cage that they put on your head. And everything's a little different. It depends on what project you're working on. But when we were on Madden, we had a full rig that they put down over your head and then has this like 4 metal prongs that come out in front of you and carry a camera. So it's right in front of you and it's looking at you. But when you are interacting with another character on the sound, you have to turn your head a certain way. Like if you have to get close enough where your two cages would touch, because as soon as the camera bumps another camera, they have to wipe the entire take.
Did that happen?
And you have to start, so many times.
Oh, no.
You have to do something called a T-slate. Everybody puts their hands out to their sides and stands still. And you'll never see any people more frustrated than when a take is completely burned. And then they're like, okay, T-slate. And everybody's like, arms out to their side, just making faces that are so frustrated. But, you really lean into it, and it becomes something like second nature eventually. But it's definitely tough to get used to at first.
Right. Can we hop over to Ginny and Georgia?
Yeah.
Working on a Netflix production, how does that differ from past things that you've done like Hart of Dixie or Friday Night Lights?
It's not too much different, actually, because we shoot on a network budget. So the same amount per episode that we shot to make Friday Night Lights or Hart of Dixie is basically what we make Ginny and Georgia for. So it actually, for me, feels pretty much the same. And then the way the split cast is, I'm just flip-flopped from being one of the young football players to now being the mayor. So when I was on Friday Night Lights, I was in the young cast. And then we had our, veteran cast, let's say, with Connie and Kyle and Brad Leland. And now I'm just that. So I watch all these young kids who not a lot of people have seen that are just super fantastically talented. Our cast on Ginny and Georgia is like, they're bonkers talented. And so now I'm just like the veteran who's sitting there like a proud uncle watching all these guys, give these great performances. But Netflix money, we don't shoot on like Netflix money. We don't shoot on like $12 to $18 million an episode. So it doesn't feel as much as I imagine those episodes feel kind of like mini movies. But we feel like a network television show a little bit, which is different for Netflix. There's not a lot of their shows that shoot the way that we shoot, but we also shoot in Toronto, which is like the only place in the world that is so busy right now.
Filming wise. Yeah, all the productions are happening there.
Like Georgia's lost a lot of productions, and LA is. I was on a studio lot the other day, and there was maybe like 6 out of 20 stages up and filming.
Wow.
It's like a ghost town. It felt like so odd because when I was there for Hart of Dixie, we shot on the Warner Brothers lot. We were so packed that we were sharing a parking lot for all of our trailers with a Kathy Bates show and with Shameless. And we were just like 40 trailers shoved into one parking lot because that's the only place they could put us because it was so busy. So I walk around now and I see it's just not all that busy. But up in Toronto, it is that way.
Are there sound stages up there too?
There are sound stages.
From studios, or are they like a private company and they rent them out to studios?
Netflix has some stages. I know like Marvel basically has their own stages. There's a Pinewood Studios, which, they have one in Britain. They have one in Toronto now. So there's like a bunch of big investment studios where they shoot like the big stuff. Mm-hmm. And then there's a bunch of smaller studios, like the old Suits Studios. And there's like a bunch of all these, shows that have shot there for years and years and years that, just had their own studios. So they're kind of, this is the, Shadowhunter studio. This is the, whatever big show it was, studio. So we shoot in a smaller, it's like a converted warehouse soundstage. Like that's where we are, unlike, place that no one's ever heard of. And it has its own challenges, It's active business for some other businesses in the place that we work. There's like a beer delivery or like kegery in the same building as us. So every now and then we'll be shooting like a real quiet scene and you'll hear boom, boom. We're like, what is that?
Do you have to reset for that?
The kegs. Oh yeah, we have to just hold. We got to just wait. We're sharing this building with another company. So
did you guys start filming for season 4?
Not yet. I go back up in this fall. And we get to work on season 4. We're very excited. The writers' room's been up for a while. They're making decisions on what happens, and then like going back to the drawing board and reworking them. Every time I talk to our creator Sarah, she's like, "Yeah, no, we've got great ideas," but they debate consistently in the writers' room about some of the bigger decisions, like which one's the right one, because I think there's a lot of like really cool ways that we have so many characters, massive cast, and there's so many, pivotal decisions this year for each of these characters, and then pivotal decisions for the writers of who is linked into certain storylines, and some questions that we need to answer on the show. And I know that they've been at it for a while, and they're so excited. So we don't get the pages until, we're on set, basically.
Are you hearing of what your character might be doing in those conversations?
I've asked plenty of times.
Nothing?
I haven't heard too much, but I've asked plenty. I've gotten words back, basically, that I kind of already knew, is that Paul he has some serious soul searching to do, and that's really where my character is going to exist for a lot of this season. So outside of that, they won't tell me much. They're like, Paul's got to do some soul searching. I'm like, okay, what does that mean? He's just got to search his soul. He's just got to, that's all. That's all I'm getting. So, oh well.
When you get the character for Paul Rudolph and you have to figure out how you're going to create him, what are you doing before the show even starts, before season 1? How are you figuring out how to build him?
That casting process was really interesting because I had been on a drought for like a couple of years of like not really being able to book much. And I was starting to lose a lot of faith in myself, that I even knew how to do this anymore, and that I could go into a room and audition for people and win a role. And I went back to where I started. I went back to theater, and I wasn't even doing like big serious theater. I was doing, it was good. It was fun. It was, I did a musical parody of I Know What You Did Last Summer with a very talented cast that I still work with as much as I can to this day. I'm actually doing a musical reading for one of my castmates from that show's new musical that he's been writing for the past 8 years. But then I did The Last 5 Years with Janelle Parrish in a small, production in Los Angeles. It was an immersive experience. It was my favorite all-time musical, and it was something I could really lose myself in, and I was really proud of what we did. And every night I would look at Janelle and I would look at our very small crew and band, and I was just so proud of it every night. And we were going into our final weekend, and we were losing Janelle for a 2-show day. And her understudy, Nikki, she's incredibly talented, but we had to rehearse it. And it was the same day that Ginny and Georgia came into my inbox. Literally, it came on a Thursday night. Ginny and Georgia, you need to be at this studio to audition tomorrow at 5 p.m. And I was like, well, I have a 2 p.m. show, and then I have an 8 p.m. show, and I've got to drive all the way across LA. So whereas all these other auditions, when I haven't worked in years and years and years, I'm destroying myself before I even get into the room because I'm questioning myself. I'm doubting myself. I'm like, I'm desperate, Ginny and Georgia, it wasn't that. I read it. I said, okay, I'll get across town, but I have to focus on something else. And then there was a very unique voice. Sarah Lampert's writing is a very unique voice. So I almost immediately got what they were looking for in Paul, at least at how I saw him. Very confident, somewhat unexpected, charming, definitely could read a room. And, they had scenes from episode 1 and then episodes 7 and 8.
That's what you were auditioning on?
That was what the audition scenes were. So like the meet cute, scene from season 1, and then, like the scene where they first hook up, where he's basically like, screw this town. Like, if they don't like the fact that I'm in a relationship with you, who cares? I'm the mayor. Like, I don't care. So I just went in and I just really relied on what she wrote, and I didn't second guess anything. And I just put the performance down and I went, okay, thanks for having me. Usually I ask in the room, is there anything else you need? Is that, it's like this, you're just trying to win the role. So I didn't have time for that. So I was like, there you go. Thank you so much for having me. I'm doing a musical. If you want to come see it tonight, I'm sure I could find 2 tickets. Let me know. I'm out of here. And that was it. And I guess that confidence in the room of like not second guessing anything, not questioning if they needed more. There was like an assuredness in the performance or whatever. It booked me the role. So I went through that weekend and I did 4 shows, 2 shows on Saturday, 2 shows on Sunday. And that was our wrap of, that was our final night, our curtain call for the show. And we partied on the stage and we were playing beer pong and it was like 3 a.m. And I got a phone call from my agent, 6 a.m. in New York. And she goes, hey, Netflix just approved you. You need to be in Canada on Thursday for the table read. And production starts next week.
That fast.
The
timing of your life is insane.
They hadn't found the role. They had been looking. And I think I was kind of last guy in. Like Paul was the last kind of one that they cast. But I wasn't on the list for a while for them to even see. Like there was a bunch of other guys that they auditioned, I guess, before, I wasn't on their short list to start. So I applaud them for kind of sticking to their guns and being like, we don't feel like we have it yet. We don't feel like we have the guy yet. And I'm just so fortunate that they did that and that the rest of my life was working in a way that it just didn't let me destroy myself. Because when you haven't booked in a while, you can really break yourself down. And it's tough, man. You start to doubt yourself. You get desperate, and you can smell it when an actor walks in the room, I think, when they're just like so desperate. And then you push, and then it's not real, and it's not honest, it's not whatever. And I had driven myself, I think, to the point of almost being like, am I good enough anymore? And then that happened, and I just feel so fortunate, the whole circumstance around it. And then I booked it, and that was it.
When the whole cast comes together for Ginny and Georgia for the first time, you've had success before. Do you feel that this show is going to cause magic?
The interesting thing about Ginny and Georgia is we had already been greenlight for a full season. So there was no pilot process. So
is that all Netflix shows? Or most?
Yes. Yeah. You get picked up and they shoot you. I mean, it's like they shoot the whole season. They buy the season, they shoot the season because they have to, because no one's going to see this product for a year, a year and a half. Like they're scheduled out for so long, We've shot 3 seasons in 6 years. We shot season 1 in 2019. It's 2025. People have seen 3 seasons of our show. Now I know we've had COVID and we've had the writer's strike, but still, like Netflix takes a little longer to put their products out. So they have to just have the entire series in the bank. So when we go up and we start shooting episode 1, we know that we're going to shoot all 10 episodes. So there's a little bit of, reassurance that we at least have enough time to figure this thing out. When you shoot a pilot, you're just hoping that they see the future of this thing. And you only have 3 weeks to shoot it. And if you have any kinks to work out, you don't have time to do that. It's just, this is what we got. But trust us, we can do better. Like, you know what I mean? With Ginny and Georgia, it was really kind of like we had the 10 episodes to really dial in like what we have and the big like important episodes. I mean, the pilot was really, really great. Super polished. It was awesome. Anya, our director, knew what she was doing. It was so important to have a great director.
Did she direct all the episodes?
The first 2. We get 5 directors a season. So each director directs 2 episodes, and we do what is called crossboarding, where we shoot episode 3 and 4 at the same time. So you'll be shooting scenes from both episodes on one day. So just keeping track of where we're at. And as we go through the season and drop scenes, we'll have to try and pick them up later. So there was one day last year that I shot scenes from 5 different episodes in one day. So keeping track of the timeline of Paul and that was like a little bit tricky, but we didn't know what we had done in season 1. We were flying, and we don't have a lot of money, but we have a lot of characters, and we have a lot of different sets and locations. We have a lot of storylines. And I don't think I understood just how expensive having that many characters and that many storylines is, because you have to have that many locations. You have to have that many sets. You have to have, so exponentially, I mean, we've got a big cast. And everybody does have their own space. I don't know how our writers do it. I don't know how the directors figure it out. We're not a big show, but we're a big show. And by the time we got done, we hadn't caught our breath for 10 episodes. And we wrapped episode 10 and we were like, what did we do? Did we do it? Did we make something special? I don't think we knew that we had. I think I knew from jump that like the voice of our show is very unique. I think Sarah's brilliant. I think our actresses are fantastic, and actors, but like our two leads. And so I knew that stuff. I knew how brilliant Tony and Brienne were. I knew how brilliant Sarah was. I know how funny, and I know how the pace of the show felt.
It had the ingredients.
It felt good, but then you don't know how people are going to react. And then we had to wait a year plus to even find out. You know, it took almost 2 years for people to see the thing.
And are you just like waiting in anticipation for it to come out?
Yeah. And you're kind of under contract, so you can't go do
auditions for other stuff?
You can't be a series regular anywhere else. So you can do guest stars, like little things here and there. You can just kind of biding your time. And then the show came out, and it was a hit, and none of us expected that.
Right from the beginning.
If right from the beginning. Our first season, we set the record for most consecutive days at #1 for Netflix television. Tiger King had set the record, and we broke it. But it also released at a time of year when there's not like a ton of other stuff. So that was the nervous thing about season 3. Is season 2 released at like the end of season 1 released at like the end of February. Season 1 released like the second week of January. In a traditional kind of like dead zone. Not for television. Television, that's when they launch shows on networks. But networks have lost a little bit of steam, and the streamers will just release when they release, and they have almost taken to like a big blockbuster type of old movie schedule where they drop their biggest shows in the summer. Boom, boom, boom. Or they hold them for a holiday release. Like Wednesday was like a holiday release, right? That was like a big, this is going to get a lot of run. Families are going to watch this, a lot of hours. And then you have this quiet like January, February. And so Night Agent is another big example of like a show that drops in that area, January, February, and they get a lot of great run. This year they decided to put us in June, and it was like Sirens with Julianne Moore, and then it was us, and then it was Fubar with Schwarzenegger, and then it was The Waterfront, Kevin Williamson's new show, which was like massively hyped, and then it was Squid Game. I felt like I was a speed racer again. I'm like, God, we are getting dropped between all these juggernauts. Like, are we still going to be, taken the same way? Are people still going to watch the same way as they watched before? And they did. So thank God for the fans for showing up, man. They really did. And I feel like season 3 is our best season yet. I feel like it had a little bit of a change in tone, but that we matured, that the show is like continuing to grow and push, and it got a little darker, but knew how to get back to the Ginny and Georgia of it all. So it was really fun. We were nervous, and for a number of reasons, and it ended up being a hit again. So we're very fortunate and very thankful.
What are you thinking right before a big scene? Are you rehearsing in the mirror?
Yeah. I work differently, I think, than some of our other actors, and I think it's because of Friday Night Lights. So I'm a quick learner. I came up in the world of music, of doing contract gigs where you are given a fleet of songs, 4 hours before you're on stage, and you don't have much time to commit it to memory, and so you just like quick commit, and then you can flush it. And you get on stage and you're performing live in front of a room full of people, but then you got to be on to the next gig the next night where you're doing 12 different songs, right? So you got to be a quick learner. You got to be able to, have it, perform the heck out of it, and then flush it. And when I got on Friday Night Lights, it was the same way. We would do the script 2 takes, and then they never wanted to hear the scripted words again. Like, it's kind of like how I'm being a little bit hyperbolic, but that's kind of like how they approached it. Do it 2 times like we wrote it, but then we want to hear it in your words. We want to hear it how you want to perform it. We want you to walk where you want. We didn't have marks on Friday Night Lights. Stand here, stand there. We didn't have that. We didn't have rehearsals. We shot every first take was a rehearsal.
How often would they use those improv takes?
All the time. All the time. Like, we never knew. I felt so bad for our script supervisors because on set, every set, for folks out there who don't know, you have like somebody who is keeping track of what camera had what actor, and what was happening in the scene and how the continuity should all work, who was holding a fork in what hand and who was chewing during this line. And like, doing that on our show was impossible So you just never knew what you were going to get. Because once you're locked into a performance, they just had to keep the rest of what was happening around. Even if there was a mistake somewhere in the background, they just had to
build off that.
You just have to keep it. But on Ginny and Georgia, the words are fantastic. And trust me, the words on Friday Night Lights were fantastic. But it's the same on Ginny and Georgia, but some of the actors really stay on their script. And some things were very particular, on as far as like words that have to be said and lines that have to be delivered like perfectly. But my process is read it to myself once, read it out loud at the table read once, put it away until the day that it comes. Because if I over-rehearse something, I'm very math-brained. I feel like I start to try and figure out the formula of the scene, and then it becomes just, I don't know, very flat, very, very zombie-like, where I'm just trying to achieve the same thing over and over again, as opposed to if I put it away and then I revisit it the day of, I'm quick with words. I can memorize words very quickly.
A monologue you can remember?
Yeah, very quickly. Oh, wow. But delivering it, I want to be able to explore it. And if I'm over-rehearsing it, my exploration goes away. I don't know why. But I've, over time, I think, figured out that it's because I'm, like, math brain dominant. Music comes easy to me because it's intervals. Harmonies are intervals. That's all numbers. Rhythm is numbers. It's just subdivision. That's just math, right? And, the things you need to do during a song to get a reaction out of an audience, like, there's certain formulas for this stuff. But when you're acting on a stage across from actors where you don't have a live audience, and you're not getting that immediate feedback, you need to be able to be free and a little more explorational. And Friday Night Lights set me up for huge success because they didn't allow you to do the formula thing. I did The Good Wife right after I did Friday Night Lights, and that was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. They are word perfect. It is legalese. Everything is like so drilled down and so focused. And that show was fantastic. But I'm not built that way, man. That was a tough show for me. And Ginny and Georgia's kind of like somewhere in the middle. And so I know on the morning, I'm more apt to ask the showrunner or the director or the writer if they can step to the side with me for a moment. And I can ask them probing questions about how did he get here? Like, what is the intent here? Why this particular word? Because I know my character inside and out, and I'm not the ultimate. This is somebody else's character creation. I try to be as prepared character-wise, but I also want their input. So I'm more apt to be like the whys instead of the what, which is the words. So I drill down and we ask those things, and that allows me to, say the words with some exploratory, function.
What do you take away from working with a director like Pete Burg?
The man's a genius. I doubt he sleeps much.
Is he obsessed with what he's doing in the moment?
His mind is just always going. And so much of it is just smart. And a lot of it is just, there was a scene that we shot, and I'll never forget this. It was the first time he ever was like yelling at me from off camera. It was a locker room scene. There was a little bit of dialogue written about what we were seeing in the first half, and it was in the pilot. What we were seeing in the first half of the football game, why we weren't being as successful as we should be. Everybody in the locker room is like yelling at each other because the thought is that we're one of the best schools in all of Texas, and there's no way we should even be like in a tight game with these guys. We should be blowing them out. So everyone's frustrated because of the expectations of this team. And Jason Street has a really cool head, and he's like kind of explaining what I'm seeing. This is, and he starts yelling. He's like, curse. Okay. And we can't use curse on NBC, He's like, start cursing. He's like, yeah, I want you, drop some F-bombs. And I was like, okay. I'm like, all right, so now I'm dropping F-bombs with no reason. I'm like, we can't use any of this. In the back of my head, I'm kind of thinking that. And he's like, okay, now tell him really what you're seeing. Okay, now you're frustrated. No. Now, you're super excited because you just saw something that you can really capitalize on. Okay, great. All right, say it in Spanish. And he just like gets you. I was like, I finally stopped, and I looked at the camera. I was like, I don't speak Spanish, Pete. And he starts just laughing. He was using so much of it just to like, I was green. This was my first TV show ever. I had come from off-Broadway, my first pilot season. This was the 7th show I ever auditioned for, and I booked it. I didn't know what I was doing. I'm not an actor. And he was, in that moment, really, through his own brilliance, just like teaching me by putting my feet to the fire. But then when I went back and watched what he chose to keep, in the midst of all of that, when he said, you're so excited that you've seen something you can kind of capitalize on, that's what he kept. But he did it in the middle of all this other stuff that he knew that I know I can't do. But he just did it to get me completely jarred and out of everything, and then give me the moment of clarity. That's what I need.
Wow.
He has a way about him in this industry that is so cool. For us, he said our slogan was nobody pushes us around. We're going to do it our way. People are going to come here and they're going to try to tell you that they know better. They don't. Nobody pushes us around. You have to be so smart and so good at what you do to have that kind of confidence. And he is every bit of it. So Pete he's incredible. The things he wants to accomplish. He wants to break a lot of, the traditional ways that we do things, and he does, and it works. But I've worked with a lot of very, very smart people. I've been really fortunate over the years to work with a lot of people who have very clear visions of what they want to do. And everyone in this business is a little bit crazy. You have to be. But he's up there, man. His brain just goes.
A lot of the creative team is doing the Friday Night Lights reboot. Is that something, if the opportunity came to you, would you ever want to be part of it?
Oh man, of course I would want to be a part of it, but only if it serves their story. It's a new location. It's not like a continuation of Dylan. From what I understand, maybe I'm speaking out of turn, but from what I've read, because I know just as much about this as you guys, it's a new facet of Texas. Because Texas isn't just Dylan. It's not just the movie. It's not just, West Texas. It is a massive state with a bunch of different environments, which, foster a bunch of different communities, which, foster a bunch of different crops of kids who grow up a little bit differently than other kids in Texas. So if you're from Houston, it's way different than being from West Texas or being from the imaginary town of Dillon. And if you're from Amarillo, it's different than being from Dallas or being from the Gulf Coast. And, from what I understand, it's going to be a town that has just suffered a pretty big catastrophe and they're trying to rebuild. And they kind of come together around this sports team. Very, very cool story. Jason Street is a sports agent now, though. NIL money. College kids get paid now. They get recruited a little bit more. So, if there's a way that he comes back by, that makes sense for the story, 100% I would love to. But I'm just so excited to see what the next step of storytelling for them is.
Will you be watching it?
Oh, yeah, 100%. Friday Night Lights, I watched every week.
Oh, wow. As it came out?
As it came out. Not for me, but because Zach was my roommate, and him and I almost never worked together, and it was the only way I saw him. God, he's incredible. Zach Gilford, incredible. Adrian Palicki, incredible. Gaius Charles, I'm friends with, still to this day. He's got a, billion gigawatt smile, and the Smash is so different than he is in real life, and I wanted to see more Smash. Like, these guys are I was a fan of these guys. These guys are fantastic, man. And so it's kind of the same way for me on Ginny and Georgia. I work in the mayor's office and at the Miller household. I don't work with any of the kids. I don't see any of their performances unless I watch the show. And then I get to see all their brilliance on full display. So for Friday Night Lights, I'll be doing the same thing. I'll just be watching as a fan.
When Ginny and Georgia drops the season, do you watch it? Do you binge watch it?
We have to watch it before because of press.
Oh.
So I get a little drip feed of like episodes as they're ready to be watched, and they're not completely locked. So I see unfinished versions of the show. Which then forces me to go back and watch the show again to see like what the final product was, because then my interest has been piqued. So, yeah, no, I watch it twice, not just trying to pad stats, but I've got to know before we go into press what ended up happening in the show. In this past season, there were some big changes. Here's some big things I didn't know that happened in other people's storylines that had changed from like the table read, hearing it out loud. Like once the table read's done, I never read anybody else's scenes again because I don't even get those pages.
Right.
Like they want to keep that circle as small as possible, you know, so leaks don't happen, et cetera, whatever. So I don't know what's happening with everybody's characters all the time. And if I'm in an interview and somebody asks me about a storyline I'm not up on, that's just no bueno. So I watch all the episodes before the show even drops out into the world so that I can do like interviews and stuff like that. And then afterwards I watch it just out of my own curiosity to see what we ended up looking like.
I have a couple fan questions.
Yeah.
Do you have any characteristics or anything in common with Paul?
Yeah. I mean, look, the cool thing about this business is finding what... This is how I work. I find the one common characteristic that I have with a character, because no matter how different a human being is from another human being, there is some characteristic that you can find somewhere that they have kind of in common. There's a thread somewhere. So I do try to find that everywhere I can. I know the way that Paul acted in season 3 felt much different than Paul in seasons 1 and 2. But he's really a pretty thoughtful guy. I hope that I am anywhere near as thoughtful as him. Like his ability to kind of hear what you're saying and let you know that he's still there for you, you know, which he did very well the first 2 seasons was a big thing. He's very competitive, and so am I. And that is the thing I think I find most in common with most of my characters. Hart of Dixie, George Tucker, wouldn't expect it, hyper competitive. To the point that, like, after he beats a judge in a game of Pictionary, he, like, breakdances, basically, and, like, is like, I beat you. He's like, it's like, whoa, they come out of nowhere. But he's really driven. And Paul is very driven, hyper-competitive guy. I've been that way my whole life. I'm built that way just because I played sports in high school and college. And, of course, Jason Street had that same edge to him. So that's one consistent characteristic that has happened to be a part of most of the characters that I've played. But yeah, that's I would think like that drive that's in Paul. I definitely have. I can see that, you know, that desire to kind of want to do things on his own and do things differently and still succeed on his own merit is something that I have in common with him.
Did Paul really love Georgia when he said he does love her before she says she was pregnant?
Yes. Here's the thing, man. This audience will forgive Georgia forever for anything that she will ever do. If you do one thing to spite Georgia, you are wiped off the earth as far as so many people are concerned. I believe that his reaction was correct. His action was wrong. The physical action of like hitting a cabinet out of frustration. And you can see it immediately in his eyes, like an immediate regret, because he knows what that means to her, and he knows what it did to her, and he didn't do it purposefully. It was something that he wishes immediately he could take back. But he loved her in spite of all the things that she told him. And I think people forget all the secrets that Paul uncovered over the course of their relationship and still forgave and moved on and trusted and loved and asked for a partnership that she was never willing to give him. And that's tough, man. Season 1. Surprise sister shows up. Didn't know you had a sister. Oh, my life's messed up. Everyone's got their shit. Just tell me what's going on. I'm here for you. I'm falling for you. I love you. I'm here. I slept with my ex-husband. Cool. Let's get married. I forgive you. I understand. I can see why that would happen. All right, cool. I have guns hidden all over the house. Okay. Guns are dangerous. You know, this is a thing. Okay. Are all the guns gone? Yeah, they're all gone. No, the guns are not all gone. my son shot my other ex-husband in the arm with the gun that I told you I got rid of, that I kept in the house because I lied to you and I didn't want to admit anything to you. And now I'm going to unload on you all these other things that you never knew about my motorcycle gang past and, credit card fraud and, all these things that he finds out at the end of season 2. Okay, cool. I'm going to go get rid of Gil for you, and we're still going to get married. How many times did Georgia just expect that Paul was going to leave her? And he didn't. He stayed. He stayed, and he stayed, and he stayed, and he stayed. So people want to act like the court case is the only time Paul was ever challenged to stay or leave. And it's not true. He stayed so many times because he actually did love her. He also saw a partnership in her that really could have been unstoppable. If she would have just trusted Paul to protect her, like if he would have known any of this stuff, he might have been able to make some maneuvers to maybe keep her from even going to court. But he didn't know because she refused to tell him. She never trusted him. And people want to act like that lack of trust is all confirmed because Paul's one action at the end of season 3, but that's not the case. That's her fault. Oh, she couldn't trust him and this is exactly why. No. She lied to him about being pregnant with his own kid. Like that's... Can you imagine how messy that is? Realizing that she's willing to do that to you and then realizing, oh my God, she's manipulated everything since we've been together. Georgia manipulated Paul in Georgia's first meeting. She stole tens of thousands of dollars from his office. She framed Cynthia. She killed dudes. Like it's crazy to me. Paul was not right in that moment, but he was very honest in that he loves her and she has destroyed him. People don't see that, and I wish that they would see that a little bit more because Georgia really destroyed Paul from the inside out. When he uses the word insidious, he really means it. That she got in him and she lied to him and she manipulated him and she lied to him and she manipulated him and she lied to him and she did it again. And then she wanted him to protect her when all of her past came up. And he paid for the lawyer, and he went broke, making sure that she had defense. And then she could lie to him about being pregnant. Something so personal like that. It just destroyed him from the inside. It's tough, man. Sorry. All right, off my soapbox.
No, this is perfect because speaking of the fandom of Netflix, do you see the reach of Netflix and Ginny and Georgia different to past productions? Like, is that the platform that it's on? Obviously, the show has such incredible writing and such a great concept, but what do you attribute all of that to?
I mean, just the international reach of the show is something I've never seen before. Hart of Dixie was pretty popular in like Brazil and in France and, Italy.
Is that considered syndicated over there?
Yeah, it was, but also streamers were around. And the CW and Netflix had a big partnership early on. So a lot of people that had Netflix internationally saw CW shows. But their subscriber base has grown to just a massive number. We went over to Paris, my wife and I, this summer. We went to the Louvre, and it was crazy the amount of people that were stopping me in this museum that has just like the most incredible collection of art you could ever, like, I'm there to just like look, and I'm assuming like everybody else is there, and still there people are just like, can we have a picture, it was just
from
like
Ginny
constant.
or from Hart of Dixie or
from
both?
Ginny and Georgia.
Oh,
it was from Ginny and Georgia, and I've never seen people, especially online, like on social media too, like the amount of people that are commenting at me and weighing in, coming at, like Friday Night Lights and Hart of Dixie had their fan bases, which were kind of small, let's be honest, and, pretty respectful. I don't want to use the word respectful because it's not like Ginny and Georgia's audience isn't that, but they're raised in a different time where there's like just a wide open layer of communication, and some of the fan base just have a hard time separating real life from real life, like
actor from
character, and they come at you. And a lot of them aren't like
I got pushed into the Mona Lisa.
Not all of them are like serious, but like some of them are like, I've had a number of people like tell me to my face, like, I can't believe you would do that. I'm like, I I didn't write that. Like, go talk to somebody else. But the fan base is just massive, and they're so interactive. That's the thing. Like, the other fan bases, every now and then, Friday Night Lights or a Hart of Dixie fan will come up to me. But like Ginny and Georgia, this is the first time I've ever felt like when I go out, like a lot of people have seen this show.
Wow.
And a lot of people are interested in talking about it. And that's just a testament to the show and like the impact that it's made. I think we also touch so many different corners of humanity in the show. And we deal with a lot of different issues that people are facing, like right now, like in this moment. And our writer, like our show's creator, Sarah, and our writers, like we have a really great age range of people who they really understand like what these next generations are going through, and they know how to talk about it in a very organic and very real, very accessible way. And they still understand like the trials of being an adult in your late 30s, early 40s, like right now too. Like, you know, so all of our characters get broken, get put back together, deal with their own anxieties, with their own health issues, mental health issues. And we just talk about it pretty openly on the show. And I think a lot of people can feel that and feel seen by that. And that when you touch on those elements and they feel seen and they feel heard, they're more likely to talk to you about it then, you know. Hart of Dixie was such like an idyllic town that like people want to escape into, but we never talked about tough stuff.
Right.
We just never did, because it was a form of like escapism, and we really wanted that. And our show's creator really wanted that. She wanted a show where you could just slip into and feel so comfortable, and it's really cool. But I think that kind of show doesn't create a fan base that is so desperately wanting to talk to you about it. Then they just love going there and chilling, and when they see you, they're like, they have that feeling. And they're like, I love that show. That was so cool. When people from Ginny and Georgia see me, they're like, I need to talk to you about this. You know what I mean? And so it's really cool. It's way different. And I've never been a part of a project this big. I've never been on a hit. I've never been a part of a project, period, that was a hit.
You don't think Friday Night Lights would be considered a hit?
Not when we were on it. We almost didn't come back after season 1.
Was that a cancellation?
Basically, yes. Until like a fan engineered campaign where they sent light bulbs to GE, because they were the parent corporation of NBC at the time, called and the whole campaign was called Keep the Lights On. They bought GE light bulbs, wrote Keep the Lights On them, and then mailed them to the GE headquarters. And we got our pickup very, very late. So wasn't like an official cancellation, but basically, like, I mean, we were almost didn't come back.
They weren't going to renew.
And then when we came back, it was with some, you know, you got to really make the show sexy, sex it up a little bit, you know. All of a sudden there's a murder. You're like, and then we get canceled. We get full on canceled after season 2, and DirecTV steps in and they're like, why not, instead of canceling it, we partner with you and we pay for half the show to keep it alive. And NBC's like, yeah, okay, cool. And then we existed on, you know, the 101 or Audience Network, whatever the DirecTV only channel is. Nobody could find out how to watch the show. And we would come out, air on that station. They had a window of exclusivity that NBC wouldn't be able to air it until the following summer. So people never knew when the show was going to come out. They never knew it when it was airing. And our fan base was awesome, and they were loyal. It's grown over time, though. So Friday Night Lights really has been the show that I've been a part of that benefited the most from streaming. But we never saw any of that, like residually, but we have seen it like generationally, the fan base re-ups because it's still out there on streaming. So I meet, you know, 14-year-old kids who have just watched Friday Night Lights for the first time.
Wow.
And they still identify with it, which is cool because the show feels very timeless in that way.
Are there residuals on Hart of Dixie?
No, we don't. That's the other thing is like Hart of Dixie had a wide reach internationally because of Netflix that Friday Night Lights never really did. But it was also, that was a Friday night show. I think our peak was like 1.3 million viewers, like ever. And people have come to find that show and just, they will rewatch it like you watch Friends though. Like, cause it's just easy. It's easy to watch. And that's a show I'm really, really proud to have been a part of too. But, streaming helped in the reach of that show. But I don't know that as many people find it for the first time. Friday Night Lights is like passed down. I feel like Hart of Dixie was a moment in time, but Ginny and Georgia is an actual certified hit. I mean, like, the minutes watched of this show is in the billions, and I've never been a part of something that big, ever. So for it to happen this many years into like my career is kind of cool, but it's definitely something new to navigate.
So cool.
Yeah.
What was working alongside Rachel Bilson like?
She's awesome. Her and I work very similarly, which was a lot of fun. We are very quick at memorizing lines, so we have a tendency not to fully have it memorized until like right before the scene. And her and I would just put our heads together before every single scene that we were in, and we would just laugh and like be trying to memorize this thing together and just like have a great time. And other people's processes aren't the same as us, so it would frustrate some people on the show. But Rachel and I, like, we just got along like, PB&J, man. She's awesome. She's so cool, and she's such a good person too. She was a great person to lead our show. I've been so fortunate with so many. I have never had a number one that, like, you hear nightmare stories about TV shows where the number one was like ruled with an iron fist and was like a tough, like, we never had that, man. Kyle Chandler was the greatest number one, and Rachel Bilson, greatest number one, man. And Brienne Howie, especially for her first time being number one, like, God, she's great. But she's just great in a much different way. Like, she just shows up, Brienne, so prepared. Like, you always know you can count on her in almost a different way than anybody I've ever worked with. So each of these number ones are like so different. Rachel was so awesome. We are very similar in the way that we work, we perform, we laugh, and we were on a show that was really light and everything. But then Ginny and Georgia, Brienne has to come do all the heavy stuff, and she's still funny, and she can dive so deep into these emotions and everything. We work pretty differently, but there's also, for us, an understanding of like, I've always got you, and she's always got you. Like, she's so generous, she's awesome. So I don't know, the three leads that I've worked with on shows that I've been a series regular on have been vastly different, but still so cool. So I've been really, really lucky.
This has been so awesome talking to you,
dude. Yeah,
thanks so much for opening up, sharing all your stories.
Yeah.
Coming up, I guess you're going to be filming season 4.
Yeah, man. Season 4, I'm doing a musical reading right now called Better Days. I think by the time this comes out, I will have already sung all the songs for it. But my buddy Brian Logandales, he's the lead singer of
Somerset.
Yeah, of Somerset.
He came over before.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
So this is his musical. Him and I did I Know What You Did Last Summer together.
Oh, wow.
It was him and I, Greer Grammer, just a great cast, Bianca Giselle, like just a lot of really talented people that are in the LA scene,
Yeah.
And we extended like 3 times in this musical parody show, and Brian and I really hit it off. The guy is infinitely talented, and he co-wrote this musical, and it's really great. I mean, it kind of feels like Ginny and Georgia in the way where different people from different generations are going to be able to see themselves and hear themselves in this show. And, keep your ears out for it, because I'm sure it's going to have a life much longer after this. And then, just continuing to record. I'm on a game right now called Marvel Rivals. And
what characters?
I play Starlord.
Wow.
And it's like my 13th time playing Starlord, and I'm still in that game. And we've got some really cool characters coming. I just recorded some new lines for some new characters that we haven't announced yet, and I think people are going to really love it. And that game is killing too. I've never been what a time to be alive. Marvel Rivals is like a number 1 game. Ginny and Georgia is like a number 1 show. Like, it just goes to show you, like, everything takes time, man. I've been in this business for 20 plus years, and I haven't really been a part of anything that's hit like this. And for it to come now, it's just, it's so cool. And it just goes to show, like, you can make a living never having a hit in this business, and that's really cool. But when it happens, it's kind of special. And then Ginny and Georgia, we go back, mid-September, and then hopefully you guys will be able to see season 4. I don't know. Hopefully next year, maybe the year after. I don't know.
Being on so many video games, is there anything that the audience might not realize about being a voice actor for them? Even a Marvel video game specifically?
Yeah, the thing with video games is you work by yourself only. You go into the booth, and video game scripts, people may not realize, are like 600 pages long. I mean, scripts are massive because each character has all this suite of lines that they have to record. But then you have X amount of characters, and then you have this massive storyline. And people play these games for 30 hours. You know what I mean? So these scripts are gigantic. When I did God of War, that God of War Ragnarok, the script on that thing, I mean, this is a tome, right? Like, this is a massive book.
Are you getting this in the mail?
No, we just get our little stuff, right?
Okay.
We rarely see the full final product because in order to print that thing up, like, you're killing how many trees? So, but then you go into the booth and you record by yourself when you're just doing voiceover. Whereas like animated, very often you're in a room with a big group of people all at once, which is really cool. It's like a radio play almost. So when I did television animated, like when I did Amazing Spider-Man, or when I did the Avengers Black Panther's Quest, it was like 10 of us in a room together.
Were you with Drake Bell?
Yeah. I was the Scarlet Spider to his Amazing Spider, to Matt Lanter's Agent Venom, and
all of you guys were in the same room.
Eric Bauza's Iron Spider.
Oh, I love Eric.
Yeah, and we would go and we would all sit down in the room or stand up the room. Look at this, man.
Eric drew me this Bugs Bunny.
Yeah, he was our Iron Spider, man. He was Amadeus Cho, and we would go and we would just like do all of our lines live with each other. It was like a radio play, and so the animated stuff is so fun, but it's really tough, man. It's hard to break into that and then make sure that you get the chemistry right, and but the video game stuff is hard, man. It can be hard. It can be super isolating because you quite often won't meet the cast of a game until the game releases, when everybody's work is said and done. And so that can be tough sometimes, but it's all fun and challenging in its different ways. And I feel so fortunate that I get to work in all these different facets of acting.
It's awesome. You're killing it.
Yeah, man. Thank you, brother.
Awesome. Thanks. All right. Bye, everybody. That was so good.